It's the Don McKay Show here on RadioOnFire.com. Thank you for joining me. Broadcasting from the Radio on Fire studios here in Baltimore, Maryland. A lot of things going on in the world, Baltimore and beyond. And of course, we're going to talk about some of those things. As many of you know, I was in Atlanta over the weekend. We're down there preparing things for the launch of the Radio on Fire ATL facility. So preparing that. And, still, by way of the internet, I'm always able to check out things that's going on. And a very disturbing video came across my Instagram timeline. Actually, this clip went viral, as we have talked about. So you have this viral clip going out of another I don't even know how many this makes, but you have another police officer assaulting a citizen. And we were on a video shoot down there when this clip started making its rounds. And, initially I looked at the clip and I said, damn, this is going to be crazy. And I was thinking that the police were going to try to maneuver around this and act like some kind of way they were justified in all that happened. Now, I still don't know whether or not that's going to be the case, but I was not very optimistic considering the history here in Baltimore between police officers assaulting civilians and what that ratio is as far as getting justice. So I was not very optimistic about that. So for those that don't know exactly what I'm talking about, we'll talk about it a little bit. So there's a police officer, Baltimore City police officer, has not been on the job that long, a little bit over 1 year. This guy was on the police force. However, in this viral video that took place in East Baltimore, he's shown beating a man and tackling him to the ground. As I said, in East Baltimore. He resigned Sunday night. In a statement from the Baltimore City Police spokesman, they said that the officer involved in yesterday's incident is no longer with the police department, and interim commissioner Tuggle has accepted his resignation. That is what they said Sunday night after this savage beating. And savage it was. Now, there were two officers there. One officer is, I don't exactly know what he's doing exactly. Is he complicit in this beating? Because he didn't try to break it up. I mean, it was kind of a, hey, man, but he's on administrative duties. So he's pushing paper around the office. The other guy who was doing the assaulting has resigned. So, if you look at the video, you don't understand what the reason was that the officer exploded like he did. But as I anticipated, as frequently is the case, I felt that they started to throw the smoke screen up. If they had me on videotape stealing something in the store, they would not say, the police I'm talking about, we don't know exactly what he was doing or why he put the cupcakes in his pocket, but we're going, they wouldn't be making excuses. Here's what they said. They said that the repeated strikes to the head are disturbing, adding that the body camera footage of the incident he viewed was consistent with the public video, but he did not want to speak on it much because an investigation is going on. At the end of the day, neither of us can say what happened. Noting this could be something to learn from in a training concept rather than a discussed scenario. We should be trained to never act in an emotional way. Sounds to me like they were trying to lay the foundation for some type of training issue. This is clearly much more than that. This is more of a hiring issue. This guy should have never been hired in the first place. Like, what, during the mix show yesterday, I played a song called Black Cop. It talks about a black police officer that goes out of his way to be worse than the white cop. And while he did not kill this guy, the savage beating of him in front of other people, he didn't even care the fact that he was being taped. He let his emotions get the best of him. The police claim that they want to be as transparent as they can in this scenario. But I just don't know. It took a long time before we were able to find out. The police didn't want us to know the officer's name, who is Arthur Williams. But Warren Brown, who represents the beaten man, revealed that the officer just 1 year, a little bit over 1 year on the force, a 2011 graduate of Cristo Rey High School. So not that long, not that long at all. So here's what they're saying about it. So the video shows the man yelling at the police officer, okay, and slaps the officer's hand away from him. The video then shows the officer punching him in his face repeatedly and tackling him to the ground. Authorities said that the officers were working around 11:45 a.m. in the 2500 block of East Monument Street, where they encountered a man with whom the Officer Williams, was familiar. After the encounter, the officers released the man, said the police. An officer approached the man to provide him with citizen's contact sheet. When the man was asked for identification, he refused. So the police, the Officer Williams, then struck the man several times. He was ultimately taken into custody. He was then provided medical treatment for the injuries that were sustained, the police said in a statement. Ironic, isn't it? And it appears as though the man bleeding from his mouth at the end of the video definitely was hurt. He was not criminally charged and was released from custody. Why was he arrested? Why was he even taken into custody in the first place? But Warren Brown, the attorney, as I said this is not the first time the officer has gotten in a physical altercation with his client. He also said that the client has a broken or fractured jaw. He sustained injuries to the eye socket, nose, ribs, and left leg. The video was brutal. I mean, it was brutal. Okay, so the attorney also said that his client was charged back in June in an incident involving the same officer, Officer Arthur Williams. Now, online court records show that McGreer was charged with assault. That is the gentleman who was beaten by the police officer. He was charged with assault, disorderly conduct, obstructing and hindering and resisting and interfering with arrest. So they already had a history. He was released 2 days later, and a preliminary hearing in that case was scheduled for August 22nd. We don't know if that's still going to happen. But the police did not want to confirm that any of the actions were related to the June 26th incident. It's very ironic that he would come in contact with him. Why was he right there? Why was he the responding officer? Why did he not, as is frequently the case, why did he not recuse himself from this situation. Very strange, but not really, because we understand how these things can go. We it didn't seem like the gentleman wanted the smoke. He did not hit the officer back, so it seems to me like the charge of assault and all of these things was trumped up charges, because in this clear instance where it was one-on-one, he could have fought back, but the gentleman did not fight back. He didn't fight back. The officer attacked him. And it is very disturbing when you look at this video. When you look at this video, you have to draw, no matter where you lie with the police versus citizens debate, wherever you lie with that, there's no denying that this officer took liberties. He was just teeing off on this guy who was not fighting him back. Not fighting him back. It is, sadly, this is not the first, nor is this the last video like this that we're going to see. But, so many issues with this situation. This officer, as I said, member of the police department for just over a year. So the officer was suspended immediately, and upon the video going public, and the next day the officer resigned. So the mayor of Baltimore said it's not about the arrests that you make, but about the relationships you develop in the community. And so that's what we're teaching. That's what we want. And that is why the acting police commissioner suspended him immediately. That's what she said. Now, the second officer, as you can see in the video, he has been placed on administrative duties pending this investigation. And the Baltimore City branch of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, also known as the NAACP, released a statement earlier this week calling for the firing of the second officer involved and the prosecution of both officers. And Marilyn Mosby, the Baltimore City State's attorney, announced yesterday that the grand jury is indicting this former police officer, now former police officer Arthur Williams, the officer who actually did the beating. He has been indicted. First and second degree assault and misconduct in office. Interesting. Very, very, very interesting. So as I said, the video is very disturbing, very, very disappointing. So what does that mean? What does you hear about it? You hear about grand juries a lot as it relates to these type of cases. But what exactly does that mean? A grand jury is a legal body empowered to conduct official proceedings and investigate potential criminal activity and determine whether criminal charges should be brought. So this grand jury is like a precursor for an actual criminal trial. So if they look at this case, which I don't see how they can look at it and come up with something else. They look at this case and they determine that a crime happened, which is obvious to me that one did happen. And then they will be able to go about the bringing of charges and official court proceedings going down. So we're going to see if that is what happens in this case. As I said, grand jury looking at the case. I don't see there being a lot to look at. This is different than a lot of times with the way the police officers work. This guy resigning immediately, which means he kind of was forced to resign. So I'm glad that Marilyn Mosby is the person that is in the forefront making that announcement that this grand jury is going to be looking at former police officer Arthur Williams. Yeah, so that's interesting. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, at The Diamond K Show, at Radio on Fire. Have not heard a peep from the FOP. So I'm going to be interested to hear if there is any response from the Fraternal Order of the Police. They're usually very vocal in, these type of matters. They're usually very vocal. So we'll keep you posted on that, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for the Diamond K Show, where conversation, I say this, we'll be announcing the topics for discussion, usually via Twitter, the night before any show airs. Also, Radio on Fire is pleased to announce July was our biggest month ever as far as viewers and listenership. We were at 341,106 viewers and listeners for the month of July. So definitely thank everybody for that. Of course, you can go to RadioOnFire.com/app to download the app, and you can check us out via your mobile device. Watch us directly on RadioOnFire.com or live on YouTube or on demand, live on Facebook or on demand, live on Periscope or on demand, as well as audio feeds, Stitcher Radio, SoundCloud, Audio Mac, iTunes. We're there. If you're looking for us, we are there. So I'll see you guys later on tonight. We'll be live with chatting with the crew and all the programs for tonight. So on behalf of everybody here at Radio on Fire, I will see you guys later.